to Inner Peace, Better Health, where we explore the real, raw, and radical parts of well-being. I'm your host, Shreya, and today we are talking about one of the most challenging yet liberating practice of all, forgiveness. Joining us is the luminous Natalini, creative entrepreneur, immersive storyteller, and a survivor turned healer. Her journey through abuse, addiction, anxiety, and deep self doubt has become a map for others searching for truth, joy, and wholeness. From collaborating with global changemakers like Deepak Chopra and Sadhguru to creating soulful experiences that bring people together, Natalini is here to help us explore how forgiveness is the medicine that frees not just the mind, but the soul. Welcome, Natalini.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to connect with your audience.
I'm honored to have you on my show. And let's begin. Natalini, your story is very powerful and deeply personal. When did forgiveness first become a real part of your healing journey?
Um, Forgiveness, as a matter of fact, is actually something that I am currently going through as a stage and a phase of my personal journey. I The first time it kind of made an entrance into my life was around a month and a half ago. I went to Africa to sit with a very, very powerful plant medicine called Ebola. And um, during that journey, I sat with this very powerful psychedelic plant medicine called Ebola. Ebola is originally from Gabon. It's been cultivated and studied extensively by a local tribe called the Bwiti. And I had the really incredible opportunity to sit with the Bwiti tribe and the plant Ebola a little over a month ago in Africa. And this is when the medicine and the tribe served basically the wisdom of forgiveness and the challenge of forgiveness. And for me, it was a really big sort of turning point in my journey. It was a big shock. At first, I was really not ready to forgive. I was very resisting towards that possibility, and it really kind of opened up my understanding, my consciousness around letting go, around genuinely letting go of a story of the story of the pain, of the needing to be a victim, of the needing to identify ourselves and validate ourselves with our trauma and with our pain. And I with the help of Ebola, of course, I was able to see myself. I was able to see to what extent I had gotten lost in the healing process. I got lost in my own story. I got lost in my own trauma. And I had become so addicted to it, so attached to it, you know. And so when the possibility of forgiveness was presented to me for the first time, I rejected it so strongly because I was like, I thought, you know, this is unforgivable. But at the same time, what they try to teach me is that if I want to be free, and if I want to heal, I do need to let go, and I need to find it in me to forgive. And it is currently something that I'm sort of grappling with. To be very honest with you, it's not something that I have mastered. But I'm in the middle of this process, and I'm very happy to talk about it as I move through it because I think it's interesting to share really sort of challenges and the hesitation and the doubt and just what the journey of forgiveness looks like.
That's a great story. That's a great story. Very inspiring also. So, was there a moment when you realized that holding on was hurting you more than anyone else?
Um, I'm realizing it now as I'm finding the strength and the courage and the humility to let go and to forgive. I'm also starting to feel the liberation and the beauty and the joy from not holding that story anymore, from not holding on to the identity that the story created for me, stepping out of the confinements of victimhood, stepping out of the confinements of, oh, everything happens to me and I'm always on that receiving end and everybody's hurting me and for me and look at this and life is so unfair and everyone's so unfair and men are terrible and all this whole story. But now, I mean, as I said, like I'm only starting to move through to navigate this sort of steep hill, but um, I can already feel how letting go, how like just opening up to the possibility of forgiveness shifts my position from a person that identifies as a victim to a person that is empowered, is in charge, and has absolute control over her life. And that's liberating. That is very much giving me a lot of freedom. And it's also helping me release the grudge, release the anger, release the sadness, release whatever is left of that story in me is now being kind of pushed up my spine, if you want, like, and cleaned up because now the energy and the consciousness of forgiveness is starting to move through my body and is starting to push all the stuff that is like hidden, left, stuck somewhere in my body, and it's starting to come out. So it's a beautiful process. And I definitely have a long way to go, but I'm already feeling the benefits.
Great. So basically, letting go is not just cleaning your mental health, but also your physical health.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So, forgiveness is often confused with forgetting or excusing harmful behavior. How do you define it in a way that empowers, not enables?
Very interesting. To be honest with you, one of the reasons why I was so resistant to forgive now and to even like agree to talk about it is because I suffered from a syndrome of toxic forgiveness. For me, like I was forgiving everyone and everything very, very easily and very, very lightly, and that was part of my toxicity. Like I was just letting things slide all the time, and things that were absolutely unacceptable became tolerable for me, and I was allowing them into my life. And in my story, the story I was telling myself was, oh, I'm so I'm so open-minded, and I'm so uh open-hearted, and everyone around me, oh, they're poor them, they're so hurt and they don't know they can't be better and they don't know how to be better and poor them, and I'm just gonna forgive. And this is fine and that is fine and that is fine. When in reality it's not. It's actually not fine at all. And so uh now what I'm kind of learning is forgiving doesn't mean allowing. Forgiving means I I accept what you did. It doesn't define me. It's not going to define me as a human being, as a woman. I will never allow it again. It's absolutely intolerable, but I let it go. So forgiveness also comes with boundaries. I think like maybe that's why forgiveness is starting to come into my life now, because I worked so hard on actually creating boundaries around me that I'm able to maybe now started dancing with the energy of forgiveness. But uh, just toxic forgiveness of everything that happens around you and no boundaries, that's not what we're talking about. um the real depth of actually forgiving takes hard work. It's a choice we make every day, and it's a difficult choice. It's not an easy choice, because at least in my case, what's happening is that my um I moved from a person that forgives very easily to a person that started to identify herself with being, with blame, with being hurt, with being self righteous about it, with being angry, with being right, always right, because everyone around me hurts me. And so I went from one extreme to another. The other extreme was like, I'm never gonna forgive, because now I don't accept this kind of behavior, and I don't allow it, and this is intolerable. But that also sways me in another extreme, which is not healthy too, because now I'm lost in that story, and I'm off my own center. So, but getting out of that other extreme is hard, because now my ego is kind of holding on to that. Like, my ego found comfort, it found validation, it's found its place there. So now each time, the blame, or the victimization, or the judgment starts to come up, I need to notice this within me, and I need to really, like, feel the feelings, because we can't escape the feelings. That would be trying to shortcut things, and that never works. Feel the feelings, but also at the same time understand why the person did what they did, and forgive, and let it go. Just let it go. And this is like, I feel like I'm like literally building a new muscle in my body, because the blame comes up, and then they're bad and they're wrong, and I am so right. But at the same time, they're bad and they're wrong because there's something wrong with them. The path to forgiveness is compassion. And for people to hurt you, it's because they're hurt. So finding that compassion is how I'm able to get out of the ego, and then drop into the heart, and find that well of love for everyone that we all carry within ourselves. We all have in our hearts. Find the compassion, and from there, let it go. And I have to tell you, it's an everyday commitment, an everyday choice, and an everyday decision. And many times I fail. Many times I fail.
That's such a deep truth, I think. And it's amazing how much weight we carry until we choose to let it go. So, you have worked with so many leaders, artists, and visionaries. How do you see forgiveness impacting collective healing and not just personal?
Wow. I think on the collective level, there is so much forgiveness that needs to happen for our planet to start rising itself out of all the stories that we've been collectively telling ourselves. And But I really believe that the collective is powered by the. So if I start finding my personal way into forgiveness, and my neighbor starts to find their personal way to forgiveness, and my friend and my colleague and my boss and my mom and my cousin and all of that, it starts to propagate itself in this way. Eventually we start rising our consciousness to that place where we're now able to let go of the collective stories, be it in terms of politics, be it in terms of historical trauma that we carry, be it wars and persecutions and genocides and famine and refugee crises. And like, there is just so much suffering that's happening in the world on a collective level. It's so intense and so real at the same time. I used to run a nonprofit organization for about 10 years, and I really lived in that world of collective human suffering. And I also lived in the world of collective human blaming, like blaming governments, blaming leaders, blaming the private sector, blaming whoever there is, who is who is really responsible. It's not a fabricated story. It is actually what's happening. But the blame and the judgment was very and is very much real in this day for me as well. So I feel like if we're able to walk the path of forgiveness on our personal level and go through it, but not take it lightly. Like, don't take it as like, oh yeah, I forgive. It's a path. It's a path you walk, and it's a choice you make every day. And every challenge that comes along that path, you need to face and you need to be with in order for you to be able to continue walking on that path. And I believe that at one point, as we walk, and as our hearts grow bigger, and as our ability to have compassion for ourselves and for the people around us, and ultimately for the people that hurt us, we find that on a collective level as well. And frankly speaking, it would be a different world once we start forgiving collectively. And I think it's worth taking some time to try to imagine what the world would look like, because I think we don't really know.
So that's a great insight that you were talking about. But certainly, I have a question in my mind that what role do community and storytelling play in helping others forgive and feel seen?
Um, Community is key. Community is critical. Community is critical for healing altogether. Forgiveness is part of healing. I feel like forgiveness is sort of like the boss of healing. It's like the last level of the healing journey is once you're really able to sit at the top of that mountain that you climbed with so much, struggle and sweat and blood and pain. You're able to climb and sit on that top of that mountain and look out and let it all go. Just let it go. Breathe in and forgive. So it's the peak of the top of the mountain. But for us to get there, we need community, and community is the most healing thing ever. I'm so blessed and so grateful that one of the gifts and one of the talents that I carry in this world is the ability to bring people together and to build communities and to build like these healthy, beautiful, strong relationships between people. And I observe it firsthand, like when people are able to truly connect, but I mean truly connect with each other, meaning, I look at you in the eyes and you look at me in the eyes, and I see what sits in your heart and you see what sits in my heart. And I can feel your pain and I can give you my compassion and you can do the same for me. And I can see your gifts and I can give you my gratitude and you can do the same for me. And these moments are so precious and they're so accessible if only we open up and we agree to be seen, to be truly seen, to be felt, to be vulnerable in that moment and be received in our entirety, and this is the power this is the potential that community carries within itself. This is the potential. And as we walk the path of healing and as we walk the path of forgiveness, what's really beautiful that happens as a result of that is that we're able to connect to ourselves, first of all, in a deeper way. And we're also able to connect to each other in a deeper, authentic, vulnerable way. And this helps us now, again, go back to the art of living in community, to the beauty and gift of being surrounded by people that actually see us, that know us, that accept us, that love us, that forgive us, that understand that we're not flawless. We're full of flaws, every single one of us, but also understand that every single one of us is trying to be better. We're all trying to be better. And in community, we can support each other, and we can walk each other home. Like Radha says, we are all here to walking each other home. And I think, at least in my personal experience, and I'm pretty sure that that's a universal experience, community was crucial. I was never going to be able to be where I am today, to go through the challenges that I went through, to overcome all of this pain and all of this insecurity and all of this anxiety and everything else that my personal dish came with, if it wasn't for my community, if it wasn't for the people I was surrounded by, if it wasn't for their guidance, for their knowledge, for their support. They were offering me compassion. They were offering me their attention and their time. They were offering me their homes and their, at moments when I absolutely had nowhere to, nowhere to go, and all of that. It was community that kept me going. And it's the most beautiful and the most powerful thing that is innate. It's by design. No wonder we're living in a pandemic of loneliness nowadays. Of course, because we're separated from each other. We're not meant to be separated from each other. We're not meant to live alone. We're meant to live together in a village where everyone comes together, everyone dances together. We're telling each other's stories, we're learning from each other's stories, we hold each other's hands, we raise our children together, we exchange our gifts and our talents, and of course, and then we fight, and then we restore the balance and the harmony, and so on and so forth. And I really feel like this sort of now, like, wave of healing that's happening across the board is preparing us to obviously first connect to ourselves, because this is so important. This is it's the foundational piece. We need to connect to ourselves, and once we're able to establish and nurture this connection to ourselves, we are able to connect to each other in a deep, authentic, beautiful way. And this is really an incredible promise for the future. It's something to look forward to. This is what keeps me very optimistic for what's ahead of us.
That's a very nice insight, and I'm really grateful that you have shared so much with us and so much really nice information with us. Uh, if listeners want to connect with you, what is the best way to do that?
Your listeners can find me on Instagram. My handle is just Natalini. You can also find me on LinkedIn with Natalini Joy. And yeah, I share more about the things we talked about here today. I share my personal journey. I share my professional journey. The process of creating those experiences, building communities, and what it means to live in this new world that we are all building together.
Sure, and I'll make sure to attach all the details below. And Natalini, thank you for showing us that forgiveness isn't a weakness, it's a sacred strength. Thank you for all your knowledge and all your insights. It's
You're
it's
most
great to have you.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a joy to be able to share with you, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, so it's really great. And to all our listeners, what are you ready to release? Who do you need to forgive? Not for them, but for your own peace. Find the answers. Until next time, take a breath, soften your grief, and remember inner peace is always within reach. And listen to Inner Peace.